Hello and good evening, and welcome to this video tutorial where we're going to be taking a look at Python. And this is going to actually be the first in a series of videos where we're going to be going through a number of examples with Python. So in this video, let me make sure I tell you right away, what we're going to be looking at is we're going to be looking at where to start. So we're going to be talking about where can you find Python, how you can install Python. We're going to be taking a look at a lot of you hear the term idle. Or IDE, which is the integrated developer environments. So we're going to be taking a look at a lot of the options that are out there and available to you so that you can get started with Python. A number of my students in my Cisco courses have expressed an interest in Python, and I've used it with great success to automate a number of tasks that I typically do on a daily basis. So it's really growing in popularity. Python is at an incredible rate, especially with Cisco's software-defined networking and just the entire concept of automation. So that's what this first video is going to cover. It's going to talk about how do we get started. We're going to look at some of the tools. We're going to talk about the different versions of Python that are out there, the 3.x versus the 2.x story. And then the videos that follow, we're going to be covering a lot of ground. We're going to be talking about all the types, right? Integers, floats, strings, lists, tuples, dictionaries. We're going to be going over a lot of formatting. We're going to be taking a look at functions. We're going to be looking at modules, or I'm sorry, methods. We're going to be defining our own functions for that matter. We're going to spend a lot of time on control flow, right? If then. So we're going to be taking a look at a lot of loops, iterations. We're going to look at the different classes, some input formatting and things like that. And as you can see here, this is the best place to start, is the Python homepage. Right, so I'm at www.python.org. If I can get this out of the way here. So we're at www.python.org, and this is a fantastic resource. You can see that if you're looking to download Python, they've got the source code. You've got Python for Windows, Mac OS X, and then other platforms. And then here are the two versions, right? 3.5.1 and 2.7.11. And so these are sort of considered to be the stable versions of the software, and the most, I shouldn't say the most recent, there's 3.6s out as of 8 days ago. But we've got two different versions here, and so it's interesting. It says, not sure which version to use, check here. So if we quickly take a look, you can see that it talks about the fact that Python 2.x is legacy, and 3.x is the present and future of the language. And this is the truth. One of the major challenges right now is getting 3.x up to where 2.x was with respect to different libraries and features and functionality that 2.x had. Now, 2.x will be around until 2020. But you will not see the version go to 2.8. It's going to stay with 2.7, and that's going to be until 2020. It was announced recently that they're going to keep 2.7 around until 2020. So for another 3.5 years. It's already June next week. So again, you can't really go wrong with either version, especially when you're starting out, right? So both versions are going to be helpful. I'll leave it up to you, right? It's kind of subjective as to whether or not I do most of my Python programming in 2.x, so whether you're using 2.x or 3.x, it's still going to allow you to learn the language, and that's the most important thing. So we'll drop back here. Now, let's talk about, you can see we've got the downloads area here, but what if you have a Mac? Well, if you have a Mac, you may or may not know this, you have Python installed on your Mac. And if you were to pull up the terminal window here, I've just basically opened up a local shell. If I type in which Python, you're going to see that Python resides in user bin Python. So if I were to simply type in Python, you can see here that I'm now in the Python or interactive Python, basically, right? So it's basically the Python shell where I can now type in different commands if I wanted to. So I'll say print hello Python, right? And it basically prints out hello Python. And so I've basically used the print function to go ahead and print out hello Python, okay? And this is a great place to come and practice some of your commands. Another helpful command, I should say, is the type command. So if you were to type in type and I said hello Python, it's going to tell me that that is a string. And this is one of the strengths of Python, is that it is able to identify the type of or the type for you, right? So it's telling you, yeah, that's a string. So if I were to say type, sorry about that, let's get this right here. So we're going to say type, and I said 234, and I hit enter. You can see that it says type 234 is an integer. What if I were to say type, and let's put in here 3.141519, my best guess at the pi sequence there, and it's going to tell you that it's a float. So as you can see, in a lot of the other languages where you're kind of left to have to define these things, like if you've done any C programming, you have to define whether it's an integer or it's a float or it's a string, right? So Python does a very good job at identifying those things for you by default. And so again, you can see here on the Mac, I've got Python 2.7.10. I was first introduced to Python and first started tinkering around with Python on a system here at the community college where I teach. And you can see here, this actually goes back quite a ways, 2.4.3 from October 2012. So this definitely has not been updated in a while. But again, you can see that on this Linux system here that's been running since right around 2000, I believe, is when this system was put into use. Vader. We were running an earlier version of Python, but now it looks like it's 2.4.3. So again, you can find Python in a lot of different locations. So for Mac owners, you have Python, which means we can create scripts, and that's what actually we're going to talk about in the next video, is how do you create the scripts, how do you execute them, you've got to set the execute bit, what does the magic number look like, and things like that. So now, to exit out, if I just type exit and hit enter, this is not going to work, right? We're going to get a message that tells us we can do Control-D, or I can type in exit with the open parents, close parents. Well, I'm a big fan of brevity, so Control-D is going to be the way we go here. So the other method that you can use to get Python, you can see here that I've basically spun up an Ubuntu virtual machine. Now, this is not something that is, let me back up here, ABC 1, 2, 3. This isn't something that is only found on Ubuntu Linux, right? If you had CentOS or RHEL, and any of the Linux flavors, you're going to find that Python is on there too. So let's say that you've got a Windows box, but you wanted to do your development on a Linux box. All you'd have to do is spin up a virtual machine with VMware that is running whatever your favorite flavor of Linux is. And if I were to say which Python, we'll see here that, again, it's in user bin Python. Let's see what version. I just downloaded this virtual machine today. It's 16.04, the version of Ubuntu. So when I type Python, you can see here we're running version 2.7.11, and that is definitely a recent version, right? I think that is probably the most recent for the 2.7 train of code. And again, right, I can just simply type in here print, oops, let me pull that back, print hello. And there we go. right? So, and again, this is just the Python interactive prompt, and that's when you see that greater than, greater than, greater than, and that's what you're going to be looking at. And again, this is just simply for me to, you could type commands in to see what is going to be the output of the commands, right? So it's not that this is where you're always going to be working. And so let me go ahead and do Control D and get out there. But again, you can spin up a virtual machine. So if you've got a Mac, it's on your Mac. If you can spin up a virtual machine, that's great. Let's talk about some of the different integrated developer environments, right? You hear these referred to as IDEs. And this is by far one of my favorites. And I'm going to talk as to why here in a couple of seconds. But Wang Ide, right? So the Wang integrated development environment. You've got a bunch of different conversations here. And this is just the Python wiki. So I highly recommend taking a look here at the IDEs to see which ones you might like. I'm going to show you Komodo, I'm going to show you Pycharm, and we're going to show you Wang Ide. So here is Wang Ide, right? And again, this is by far my favorite. And let me go ahead and actually pull up Wang Ide. And so again, text is a little small. You can see here we've got the interactive prompt down here. I'm down at the bottom here. So if I was to say print and go ahead, you can see it actually put the parentheses there for me. I put in the first double quotes, and then take a look over here, right? It's giving me, it's called the source assistant. So it's giving me some additional information. So I can just simply say print hello and hit enter, and it prints hello for me. Now, this is one of the things I love about the IDEs, or the integrated developer environments, is that what I could do is if I wanted to say, let's say string dot, right? And you see the little M next to all of these options here. Well, I'm saying string dot, and it's showing me all of the methods that are available for the type string, right? And I know that might not make a lot of sense right now, right? But it will soon. So, because again, this is basically, these methods are predefined, and they're in your Python distribution, and it allows you to go ahead and manipulate the type that you're working with. And in this case, it's type string, right? And I think there's one up here. It's, well, we got capitalized. Was it lower? I'm trying to remember. What do we have? Count, encode. There's an upper. Where's upper? There we go. So here's upper. So if I were to say string dot upper, and I just simply double clicked it, and now let's go ahead and put a string in here, and we'll just put a string of characters, and I'll hit enter and take a look at that. So it kind of gives you an assist, right? It helps you out by showing you that when you type in str for string, boom, take a look at that. It presents me with all of the methods that I might be interested in using to manipulate my string type, right? And again, that string type is what that's the type string, right? And that's what I'm going to be manipulating. So again, and we're going to get into this much later, but here is an open file, so I could basically create any kind of a file. I'd say user bin Python if I wanted to, right? And that's going to tell me where the program is going to be. And then let's just go ahead and say print. And you can see, right, it's giving me the function, right? We've got that F right there telling us that print is a function. So we've got print. I do the open parent. I only did the open parents, and you can see it helps me out, and it drops in those parents for me. And I'm just going to say hello, right? So that's all we're going to put in here for right now. And so again, this is Wang Ide, and one of the reasons I'm a huge fan of Wang Ide is right over here. As you see, you can download a free trial and check it out and see if you like it. There's different versions. There's Wang Ide 101, Personal and Professional. And if we take a look here, and let me make sure I'm in the right section here. So it's even identified that I'm running Mac OS X. Let's do compare. Here we go. Compare product features, right? So what you can do for educational institutions is you can contact WingWare. You could contact WingWare about Wang Ide, and for educational purposes, you can get a 1-year professional license at no cost if it's being used in a classroom for classroom purposes. And that's something that I've done preparing for my courses coming up, and I got a response within just a number of hours, right? So students will be able to have a 1-year no-cost license for Wang Ide Professional, right? So that they can practice their development and their Python scripting. Another one here is Anaconda. Anaconda is very popular as well. As you can see, you can come right here to the download link. It should identify that I'm on a Mac. And again, there's Windows versions for all of these as well. So you can see here, Anaconda for Windows, 64-bit. And you can do Python 2.7 or 3.5. Same thing. Here's Anaconda for OS X. And what Anaconda is it's not so much, I mean, it is an integrated developer environment, and it's got a, it uses Spider, which is also sort of a window in which you can create your scripts. And that's really what these integrated development environments are. If you didn't have an integrated developer environment, like a Wang Ide or an Anaconda, or we'll talk about Pycharm and Komodo here in a second, if you don't have something like this, then you're going to be kind of left to just a text editor, or one of my all-time favorites is VI, and actually it's Vim, which is VI improved, but I always say VI just because that's kind of the way that I learned back in the day. So, and literally you can just simply say, you know, VI, and we'll say hello.py, and you can see here I've got a script already and got some junk in here, but here is, and I think we are in user bin Python, and so here it is. We've got this script. I've just created this in VI, put some comments in here into file. I always like to say that that's the end of the file. So you would have to do it in VI. You could do it in Notepad. You could use Notepad++ on Windows. And then once the file has been created, I'm going to say chmod u plus x on hello.py, make it executable. And then we're going to say /hello.py. And there we go. Hello world. That's it. And so this is kind of the old school way to do it. You can see that I don't have any colors changing for me, right? There's no assist from the Vim program telling me, oh, hey, I recognize that you're doing a Python script. Here, let me help you out. So at zero cost, if you had a Mac and nothing else, you could use VI. You could use any text, any text editor that you had would work. And you can create your Python scripts. So let me go ahead and drop that down. So again, Anaconda comes with a whole host of additional tools. And you can see here, you've got the command line installer, you've got graphical installers. And now let's talk real quickly here about Pycharm, which again is a fantastic Python integrated developer environment, right? So you can download right away. I believe they have a demo that you can download, and they do. In fact, that's right, I forgot about this. So Pycharm has a community edition, which is 100% free. In fact, I've got it installed. Where are we at? So right here, Pycharm CE, right? Community edition. So let's go ahead and click on that. You could see it was literally just released 2 weeks ago, in fact, almost to the day. And we're running version 2016.1.3. And the community edition is absolutely free. So if you didn't want to spend any money, or you didn't want to pursue the academic license with WingWare's Wang Ide, what you could do is you could download Pycharm, and we'll give it a second here as it's Still churning away. And it should be up here in a second. So while Pycharm is coming up, let's talk about another Python interactive developer environment is Komodo. And you can see Komodo will give you a full 21-day trial with full functionality. And then if you wanted to purchase it, you could. Let's see what we've got going on over here. This was just bouncing up and down. Yeah, so here we go. So this is Pycharm, right? Let me make this a little larger here. And it's updating some stuff, and we're going to make it a lot larger. And so here's Pycharm. I'll close the tips down. It gives you little tips. But you can create files, again, just like you could do with Wang Ide. And again, it's going to provide help and assistance. It's going to allow you to organize your files. And then let me go ahead and iconify that. And then finally, we've got the Komodo IDE, which is the little dragon icon right here. So here's Komodo IDE 10. And you can get a 21-day trial. It's Windows, Mac, and Linux. And we'll let Komodo fire up here. And there we go. So here's Komodo. And again, they all look pretty much the same. And we'll give it a couple seconds here. Not the fastest Mac in the world. And there you go. And sorry about that. We've got some import statements that are not needed there. But you can just simply create your files here. It's basically a Python-centric editor, right? But it does so much more than just allow you to create files. And again, download them, check them out, see which one you like, and then stick with that. And a quick word, if you did the virtual machine, right? If you spin up a virtual machine with Ubuntu, there is also a text editor that you can use here. And there it is. It's called Text Editor. And so it should pop up here in a second. And it looks like I may have crashed the VM. Could be running out of resources here. But there's a text editor on Ubuntu that you can use as well. And here is Sublime Text. Now I love Sublime Text because I use it for a lot of my Tickle. So I actually use it for all of my Tickle scripting that I'm doing in order to stage configurations and for configuring Cisco routers and switches. And so again, we've got a little script here, and then let's go ahead and say print, and we'll say hello Python. And as you can see, if you look down here in the right corner, it's not too noticeable, very small, but it says Python. So it has recognized, based off the file name ending in .py, it's recognized that this is a Python file. Now, Sublime Text is not an integrated developer environment, right? It is just a super, super cool way to enter in any kind of script, bash shell, whatever you're doing, Tickle shell, Python, C code, doesn't matter. And Sublime Text is smart enough to know that from a formatting perspective, it's going to know what should be there. So if I leave that off, right, you can see that we're missing that the closed bracket there. So we'll put down here end of file, right? So this is just basically a graphical way to do your scripting, but it's not technically an integrated developer environment, but it is extremely useful, but it is not free. There's definitely a cost with Sublime Text, but it is a fantastic tool. All right, so let's pull back the browser here. All right, so let's go ahead and let's wrap things up here. So what have we talked about, right? We talked about the main Python homepage. You can see here they even have a beginner's guide. So if you click on that, it will literally walk you through. If you're completely new to programming, you don't know anything about programming, here it is right here, right? They've got all kinds of documentation, some really, really valuable resources. They talk about the integrated developer environments. They talk about text editors, which we just did. introductory books. You've got code samples, beginner guides, tutorials. So Python tutorials, right? If you just click here, it's going to take you to, hopefully, the Python tutorials, and there we go. And so here you go, the Python Guru, how to become a better Python coder. And it walks you through all of the things you need to know in order to master Python, right? So again, we've talked about quite a bit. We talked about the integrated developer environment tools, Wang Ide, which you can get academic licenses for, phenomenal tool. We talked about Anaconda, Pycharm, Komodo Ide. Again, those are all IDEs, and they're going to provide incredible value with the features that they offer. And you saw with the Komodo, where you go to type in, you wanted to see the methods that are available to you for the type string, and boom, it lists them all out right there, right? Really helpful when you go to do your programming. We talked about VI, or just a text editor with Ubuntu. We talked about where you can find Python. You've got it on your Mac. You've got it on your Linux boxes. You can download it for Windows, right? All of these IDEs I talked about, they've all got Windows versions, right? So check them out, see which ones you like, download one, and make sure that you've got access to one of these guys before you go forward to the next video. When we jump into the next video, we're going to talk about how we run Python programs, and we're actually going to start to write a couple programs. And I like to start with the string. The type string is what we're going to be starting with. And we're going to take a look at a number of the methods, as well as prompting users for input and then printing some output. All right. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you feel like you've got a better understanding as to the options that are out there for you when it comes to programming Python, because I know there's a lot going on. And hopefully this has cleared some of that up and going to get you on your way to becoming a Python expert. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening.